Welcome back to another episode of CHP Sports with Kenny and Anthony. My co-host Kenny Barber is to my left.
What's up?
Waving away. And I am Anthony DeRazio. We are back after a little break. Last week we had some technical sort of scheduling issues that came up. We could not record. We apologize for that. But we're back this week. I don't know what we would have talked about last week anyway, to be honest. This week, I think there's a bit more. And mainly, I guess our first topic of conversation will be the start of the college football season is the big one to me, I guess. So, Kenny, did you watch any football this past weekend? If so, what games? What were your thoughts? You know, how does it feel to have football back? I don't want to say in a safe manner, watching all these stadiums completely packed with the Delta variant, no one wearing a mask, but back at least on the field.
Yeah, I mean, it was I'm not going to lie. I watched too much football, and that's usually what I do. I have this app. I think it's called Fubo or Fobu. I forget which the name. But I can find almost any game I want. And what a great weekend of college football game-wise. There were some incredible games. And I started by watching Big Ten, Wisconsin, Penn State. Game came down to the last minute, but yeah, like
that game. Let me just interrupt you and say that game was so frustrating to watch because I think I slept through part of it, but every time I saw it, was watching. Wisconsin was marching down the field.
Yeah,
they had the ball and were marching down the field, and then I took a nap and I wake up and it's Penn State was winning. I look at my wife. I'm like, has Penn State done anything? She's like, not really. Wisconsin just keeps turning it over inside like the 10.
Yeah, tons of miscues. And again, on Penn State's side, some good defensive plays, in the red zone them being in the red zone. Just a really good kind of back and forth battle. And, really, Wisconsin could have, I don't want to say blown them out, but they could have won, I think, by a decent amount. And it just didn't, turnovers, especially in the beginning of the year. Bad transitions, quarterback, running back, that kind of stuff. Things that, you don't really expect to happen, but in the beginning of the year could be an issue. So, yeah, I watched that game. It was a great game. And, yeah, it is nice seeing crowds again, although, who knows what's going on there as far as the COVID. But it was cool seeing the Wisconsin fans doing the jump around in the fourth quarter. It is quite the spectacle, just to see something like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In a vacuum, when you just see that many people and you see the energy, it's like, oh, we didn't really have this last year.
It was so different, quiet, nothing.
And it's cool when you just view it in that perspective. When you go, okay, we've only vaccinated 62% of the population is fully vaccinated, right? Like, so and obviously some of these places do have. I know like LSU has like a vaccination policy where you have to be vaccinated to get in.
Yeah, I think a lot of colleges are doing that.
But a lot don't. Like Ohio State doesn't. Okay. Like here at Ohio State, like I got offered tickets this coming weekend. So the game after this weekend, where it's Ohio State against Oregon Ducks, which I would love to go see.
Yeah, that's going to be the game. That's the first game I'll be watching on Saturday.
I was like, I don't feel comfortable going. And I'm vaccinated, obviously.
Yeah.
But with the Delta variants, like I've talked about this, I think in other places where I can't get sick, right? If I get sick, I'm teaching like 6 classes. I can't like 6 classes, like all of a sudden have to transition to online and deal with lab transitions. It's pain.
Yeah.
So,
worth
the risk to me.
It was cool to see that. Like it's definitely part of the game, right? It really is.
Yeah.
Having it not there last year and then seeing it this year, it's like, wow, like those schools like Wisconsin, Virginia Tech, they have these massive student crowds, right? It's a lot of students that are living on campus and you could just feel the energy in a place like that. So it was cool to see that. The game, great game. That was a great game. UCLA LSU game was pretty good. Watched that. I
did not watch that one.
UCLA ended up pulling away pretty well in the end, but it was, just a good game. And the Notre Dame Florida State game was incredible.
That was wild. That was a wild game.
And with a little backstory there with Mackenzie Melton, who Milton, I believe I'm saying it correct. He was the quarterback that came in from Florida State at the end, who kind of led them back, right, and brought them back to tie the game. They're calling him a medical miracle at this point. He played for UCF before. He was a top 10 Heisman finalist, I think twice, like 2017, 2018. Blows his knee out, like to the point where nerves, bones, like things were not right. He had a 3-team surgery, with all these doctors, and they basically were like, hopefully he can walk again on that leg, right? And I'd forgot about this guy, right? And I no clue he was even on Florida State. And they're like, here's Mackenzie Milton coming into the game in the fourth quarter. It's his first time playing since he basically almost lost his leg. Kind of like Alex Smith type scenario. He didn't have a compound break, but he tore everything in his leg basically. And the kid just brings Florida State, end up losing, but in overtime. But what a crazy thought to even kind of. His mom's in the crowd crying. Like, what an emotional type of scenario there.
Yeah, it was really cool to see. And obviously, his injury, I mean, obviously I don't know the details. I just know what they were saying on the broadcast. It sounded horrific.
Yeah.
And, from I think the game was on ABC, from ABC's perspective, like they were milking it for all they had, because it is like the dream movie scenario.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like,
if he wins
himself.
If he wins that game, that's like a Netflix movie soon,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And even still, again, they lost in overtime, but like if you would have, like with a quarter to go, you would have asked me Florida State was going to be in the game at the end. I'd be like, no, because they were down like it
was 38-20, I think. Yeah, 38-20.
They were down by a ton, and then I don't know what Notre Dame just stopped. Apparently, seemed to stop playing, and then
too conservative.
Played great. Yeah.
They got too conservative on offense and defense, and that's what happens. You give the other team a chance, and that kid came in hot. He's a great quarterback. I mean, the guy was a Heisman candidate, a top 10 finalist. Like, I remember watching him play at UCF when they were great a few years back, and I'm like, man, this kid's legit. And then, bam, it was over for him. To have that kind of determination to get back, it's impressive to see. So that was a really cool, just little subplot there. Now, I said I had a controversial subject to talk about because there's so many sides to it, right? And I've personally experienced it myself. I've had a family member who has experienced it, and because of the result of what I'm going to talk about. But so the targeting rule. What are your thoughts before I get into mine of the targeting rule? Is it good for college football? Is it bad? More the penalty than the rule.
I think the rule. The idea behind the rule is good, right?
Correct. I agree with that.
Trying to protect players, so for those that may be listening that don't know what we're talking about, basically you can't lead with the crown of your helmet, and you can't try to initiate contact on another offensive player if you're the defense. Helmet to helmet is basically the idea. At least not be aimed for that with your head. I think I agree with the idea. I think sometimes I don't always agree with the calls because for two reasons. One is that sometimes the plays are very bang bang.
Correct.
It's one thing if someone literally just dips their head straight down and it's really obvious. It's another thing, sometimes you get it called where the guy's kind of going like this, and he kind of the other guy happens to move his head at the same time, and their heads end up coming together, and it ends up getting called targeting. I don't really feel like that should be called targeting. If you want to call helmet to helmet in that, fine, but don't make it where the guy gets ejected, where it's clearly he's not trying to hit the guy in the head, but they just happen to hit heads. Right? Again, it would help maybe enforce the idea that, hey, maybe you have to target a little lower than you thought and, keep your head up so you're hitting with your face mask more, if anything. So that's one reason is that sometimes, both players kind of move and neither one's trying to hit with their head, but the way they both move means that in a very fast-paced game where both are tremendous athletes, it happens. The other reason I sometimes disagree with it is like they'll call helmet to helmet, and it's like it's kind of the similar reason. Is just that the helmets have like size, like helmets are big, right? So I can try and hit you in a way where I'm like, oh, my head's not going to hit his head, and I'm going to hit with my shoulder first. But like helmets, it adds like an inch and a half to my head. You got an inch and a half on your head, right? So there's 3 inches that in my head, like maybe I'm not accounting for, maybe 4 inches. And, all of a sudden, like our helmets hit just before my shoulder hits you.
Yeah.
Right. And so they end up going like, oh, it's helmet to helmet contact. And they end up calling targeting when it's like clear the guy was trying to lead with his shoulder, but his helmet just kind of got there first. I mean, so I guess, so that's all to say. I think that they need to maybe, sometimes I think it gets enforced by the letter of the law when the intent, like it was clearly an accident the way it happened, if that makes sense. Like, and again, I can see enforcing some sort of like yardage penalty, but I don't necessarily think they should get kicked out unless it's like, I think there should be like a tier system almost, I guess is what I'm saying, is where it's like, if it's super obvious that you clearly like actually like try to hit the dude with the crown of your head, you dipped your head obviously and tackle that way, you're out, right? It's 15 yards and you're out. If you like made contact with your helmet, in such a way that like you weren't trying to, but either he dipped and you dipped at the same time, or like you try to lean with your shoulder, but you kind of like also hit him with your helmet, 15 yards. And maybe you get like, you get one freebie, like you get the 15-yard penalty, but you're not out. If it happens again, even if it's an accident, you're out after the second one. I think that's, I guess, the way I feel. I feel like it should kind of be like that tier system. Cause I do feel like sometimes it's like, I remember the game with Trevor Lawrence, like the Clemson Ohio State game,
last
years ago.
Well, there was one last
year. There was one last year, but it was like the Clemson guy.
Yeah.
I thought that one was actually really obvious because he definitely like just dropped his head. And he like aimed for put his crown of his head in the guy's back, which you can't do.
I'm going to talk about that one too, but go ahead.
The one before, when it was the Ohio State, I'm forgetting what our player's name, it was our safety. He came out on blitz and he tackled Lawrence. It was early in the game, and it was when Ohio State had the lead. And he tackled Lawrence on the blitz, and like as he goes, he kind of like lowers his head to like make the tackle, and it's Lawrence balls up at the same time, and so they end up colliding helmets. And it was one of those, again, by the letter of the law, they did call it correctly. I don't want to say they didn't call it correctly. I am a Ohio State homer. I teach there. I went to grad school there.
That's your school.
But at the same time, like I felt like, if Lawrence doesn't ball up right when he does, the dude doesn't hit him in the helmet, right? So that was one of those where I was like, all right, fine, enforce the 15-yard penalty. Right. And give him like a warning, like, hey, if it happens again, you're out. But it didn't feel like, where it was, it wasn't like, again, I think the last year's where it was the Clemson linebacker who wears the thing around his neck. I forget his name.
There's basically their star linebacker. Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like he really like put his like basically stared at the ground and just ran the crown of his head right into the guy, which to me, I feel like that if it happens seems like should be a definite out because that's like specifically what they're trying to get rid of, right? So I think if you do that for your safety and for the players around your safety, if you go for their helmet, that you should be out if that's the case. Yeah. But again, I mean, I can understand why they call it, I guess, because it is somewhat of a gray area. But yeah, those are my feelings. I feel like those are the two that kind of like at best exemplify what I'm talking about. Where I would feel like last year's I would reject, and the Ohio State guy I would say it's 15 yards, but you stay in the game.
Yeah, and so I honestly agree with a lot of that, what you said. Right, and that's my kind of thought process through it. Like, I'm seeing so many kids who train all year, practice hours, and something freaky happens, and they get thrown out of the game in the first quarter, in the first game of the year. And to me, it's the most ridiculous thing. Without intent, you know what I mean? I just don't understand the rule as far as ejecting a player. If there's malicious intent, if he's jumping off his feet and spearing somebody in the helmet, yeah, throw him out of the game. If, and you try to put – I played football, right? I played football. I wore shoulder pads. I wore a helmet. Well, guess what? That helmet's heavy, okay? The shoulder pads are heavy. Guess what happens when you lean forward with a helmet and shoulder pads on? Your head goes like this. It's pretty much impossible to lower yourself to hit somebody without your head coming down like this. without trying to tackle like this, which is also not a good position to be in to tackle somebody. Right now, I am not anywhere near the athleticism of these guys playing football, the speed, the power that they can generate. It can create violent collisions. We know this. Concussions are a problem. They have lasting effects. I've had many playing football, probably some that wasn't even diagnosed with, right? My cousin had to quit football his senior year because of concussion stuff. So I'm not saying that that's not an issue either. The other thing I've seen with now not hitting high is knees getting blown out, ankles getting broke, right? So now guys are shooting to hit lower, right? And then what suffers there is legs and ankles and stuff like that. So now that play you're talking about last year with the Clemson linebacker, I used to wear one of those packs on my neck, right? It's supposed to stop from whiplash back. As soon as you bend forward with the pack goes like this and pushes your head down. So it probably looked like he did it on purpose when he did it. I don't think he did do it on purpose. I think it's just part of wearing one of those packs that pushes your head down. And if you look slow motion at that, it looks like he's trying to aim for the side of Fields, and then Fields spins. And when he does spin, I mean, it looks like he spears him terribly, right? It did not look good. So I could see them being like, he lowered his head on purpose, yada, yada. So I was kind of torn during that one. I'm like, man, it did look bad, but I've been in that position with that pack on my back. As soon as you go like this, it's part of his equipment. So it's tough. But I think without clear malicious intent, right? Like you said, you're running two guys that run a 4.40 are running at each other. One tries to lower his head to get out of the way. The other one lowers his head to receive the hit. And then guess what happens? They hit helmets, right? Was that intent? Malicious helmet-to-helmet contact? No, it was accidental. Okay, throw the flag. Have people aware. I would even say, like you said, like a tier system. Hey, maybe you're out for this quarter now, right? The rest of the quarter, and then you can come back in, or something like that. Where like I didn't want to see that guy get kicked out of the game in the national championship last year. He's their best player on defense, right? It was tough to watch that, but it did look bad, right? And he definitely top of the helmet in the rib cage, probably broke some ribs. I mean, Fields was impressive by shaking that off and playing the rest of the game, right? Because you also don't want to lose the best player on Ohio State from injury and somebody sparing him. So that was probably the toughest one I've seen as far as like what to do, because it did not look good. But I've also worn one of those packs before and know that it pushes your head down immediately as soon as you go to hit somebody. So it's tough to say whether, in my mind, to say whether he did he do it on purpose? I don't know. He's the only one that'll ever know that. But it was so frustrating, and one of the announcers actually went off during one of the games because somebody got kicked out. He's like, "When are we going to fix this? Like, that was not intentional. It was an accident. They threw a guy out in the Wisconsin game, I believe, Penn State, Wisconsin. I think that was the game. They were running to the sideline. He kind of hit him. It looks like he tries to hit his shoulder, but his helmet misses and hits the quarterback in the side of the helmet, which is not good. That's where I've been hit before and didn't remember the rest of the game. So, and it looked bad, right? It looked bad, but he didn't do it on purpose. So, and that's why I struggle with it. These guys that, they put so much into it, put their own bodies on the line. And, when the runner lowers his head, it's okay. But when the defender does, it's not okay. So it's like, it's tough. I get frustrated watching games. Sometimes I turn them off because I'm so mad about it. Because the kid's just out there doing his best, and within a flash of a split second, hey, don't hit there. It's like, or like the other guy bent down at the last second, and it's like, what do you do? How do you stop when you're running full speed to tackle somebody? So it's tough.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with everything. I would say that my only caveat to any of that is just sort of saying, well, even intent, how much does intent matter? I think it matters in the sort of the gray area.
Yeah.
But I think it also, if a guy's just tackling with shit form, like whether or not he intends to hurt someone, he's going to hurt himself, right?
Yeah,
so
and he needs to fix that too. I agree with that.
Yeah, so you have to, like, the rule is meant to sort of penalize you so you learn how to tackle the right way.
Yeah.
Right way. Right, at least in a way that's somewhat less dangerous. I do agree that, there is this trade-off between, okay, we're not headhunting anymore, which is good.
Yeah.
But also we're lowering our target zone. And, when it used to be basically the guys would aim for like anywhere from here to like the waist. Now it's like, ideally, people would say like from the upper thigh to like chest, right? Is really where you're trying to get the hips, really, hips and like, trip them up basically, pick a ankle basically.
Yeah.
But that means that sometimes you're going to end up hitting a knee. You're going to end up hitting, rolling on an ankle. I watched obviously the Ohio State Minnesota game, or at least most of it, on Thursday night. I did have labs, so I missed the first part and I had to drive home, but watched most of it, second half when I got home. And, the Minnesota running back, Ibrahim, that's the way they were saying his name, I believe, on the broadcast. I believe that's the correct pronunciation. He was phenomenal, like absolutely phenomenal. He was tearing Ohio State up, right? Absolutely. As an Ohio State fan, I was like, man, we might want to stop this guy. I think he had like 163 yards on the ground in the third quarter. He blows out his knee. He's out for the year. Or lower. They haven't said exactly what he did. It was a lower leg injury, so it might have like torn something like an Achilles. I don't know. I don't think it was Achilles because he was walking on it, but who knows, right? It was just super unfortunate. Like, I don't exactly remember the play it happened on. I don't think it was anything malicious or anything bad. I think it was just like a football just injury.
Part of the game, yeah.
But it's still, horrible to see a guy that's, clearly a stud player, lose his entire senior season effectively, right? He played 2.5 quarters. When he probably, I think he led the Big Ten in rushing last year. He would probably, based on what he was doing in that game, going to lead the division again this year. So
potential a top 2 round draft pick at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how much does that affect his draft status? Like, everyone knows he's got talent, and just based on that 2.5 quarters alone. But now they have to worry about, okay, you have a season-ending injury. Where are you at in that recovery timeline? Well, instead of a second round, we're going to make you a 4th round, right?
Yeah.
That's millions, probably
it's a lot of money.
$2 million that he lost.
Yeah,
so it's super unfortunate.
Another thing you think about too is, say you are the D-back who is just won the starting job, right? And, you either tackle the guy by doing something that might be questionable or you dive and miss, right? And then maybe you lose your job. Maybe you're not a starter anymore. Or even in the NFL, they're playing for money. They're playing for contracts. You get beat once, you get beat twice because maybe you do pull up or you hesitate, right? Because you got to think about it now. So it's not as easy as people think to just be like, yeah, just don't do that anymore. Especially when some of these older players, I mean, I know what we were taught growing up, right? It was basically try to de-head the player with the ball was basically what we were taught to do. I mean, that was football. Like it's a brutal sport, right? Does it have to be, archaic and like cavemen? Absolutely not. And if you watch old like 70s, 80s videos, it's kind of horrifying.
It's hard to watch.
Yeah,
it's hard to watch.
I mean, that stuff now would get guys in jail almost. Like it would be called assault. So yeah, it has changed. But I played in the 80s and 90s, right? And tackling wise, yeah, we were taught to lead with our cage, right? Not the crown, but lead with your cage, which to me, I don't know, that didn't make. I would always end up with my nose smashed and bleeding in places on my face. But drive your head through their chest. Separate the man from the ball. That was another one that we were told a lot, right? To just any way possible to just destroy the person with the ball. And that was the mindset, and then I think about like, it's football. Like people are going to get concussions. It's kind of like having no head punches in boxing, right? It's kind of part of it. Now, can we reduce it and make it safer? Absolutely. It's just so frustrating to me when the kid didn't have intent and he just gets. There's no gray, right? It's just you're out of the game. Your helmet hit his helmet.
So here's a question for you. You have 2 young boys that are very young, but if they get to the age where they want to play football, would you let them play football, or was there a specific age you would let them play football?
I'm okay with it. I do have a wife though, who is very keen on this stuff, and I watch football a lot. She hears a lot. I don't know how she feels about it. I don't think she's too keen on the fact of playing football at a young age, just due to, headshots and stuff like that. So it would definitely have to be a discussion. And he's asked about it. He's only 6. Do I think he needs to play full contact football at 6? No. There are flag leagues now too, where you learn the game and, it's not full contact football, but there's also taxi and peewee and stuff like that. But I think to truly learn the game by middle school, I think you should be playing some sort of contact football. You do have to learn how to get hit and to hit people and be okay with it, right? It's a learned thing. You can't just like pop up in high school and get hit the first time. Like, oh, wow, this isn't fun. There is a learning curve there. So yeah, I think middle school is fine. The Pee Wee football, it's crazy. I played Pee Wee, I coached Pee Wee, I coached JV, I coached varsity, right? They're the kind of 3 youth levels before high school. Never remember any kids really getting any bad head injuries. See some bad leg, like when I was a kid, a friend of mine, literally, Pee Wee kid shattered his leg in half. Like, it was crazy because the kids aren't running that fast, right? They're not. Yeah. they're not creating too much power to hit each other, and
there's not very fast, and they're small, so it's not a lot of momentum.
Yeah, so as dangerous as it could sound for a Pee Wee kid, they're really not generating too much, power hitting each other. So I feel like it is safe, and I feel like with the rules when you're younger, right, that is the time to learn. I do think a lot should be put into teaching how to tackle that way, and to kind of run full speed and somehow avoid hitting head to head. There should be lots of lessons on that when they're younger. I think that should be a huge thing they should work on, even down to tackling without helmets, whether you're hitting dummies or something like that, the big dummy pads. So I think that's a good way to teach. So yeah, I'd be okay with my kid playing. He's asked, he doesn't seem, I just kind of go with what he seems interested in at this point. Right now he's into breakdancing. So, whatever. Also, high risk of injury with the stuff he's watching, with gymnastics involved and kids doing flips on the one arm. And so, yeah, it is something to think about, though. And it's okay to play some flag, I think, and especially off-season stuff. We used to do like 7-on-7 and, no equipment and stuff like that. But I think practices are way different now. Right, we used to go full pads 2-3 days a week, scrimmaging at the end of practice. You probably don't see that once a week now, right? Maybe. I think it's definitely changed a lot, and just to keep guys healthier and less beat up during the year, because it is a long season. It's a grind. I never had one season where I wasn't beat up by the end of the year in some sort, leg, arm, fingers broken, stuff like that. So, good old football.
Yeah, I don't know if I would. Obviously, we don't have children, but if I did, I would be hard pressed to let them play before high school, and even then, I probably wouldn't feel comfortable personally. Yes, I know it's safer. Yes, I know there's, things to do, and yes, it's somewhat hypocritical to say like, oh, I'm going to go and watch these people basically kill themselves, and then not let my child do it potentially. But I do think, once your kid, it is different. For me myself, and I do think. I do think there's other safer ways to get contact, sort of like learn how to move your body and move, do some of the things like wrestling. I think is probably safer because like you don't have like someone wasn't just sprinting full speed when they hit you, right? Like the person's even a full speed double leg is you can get a concussion obviously if you're banging your head against the ground. But the stuff like that and judo, grappling in general. I think those are slightly safer and, could give you a base where if you wanted to jump into playing football later, especially if you were like doing, track on this, as well, track plus that stuff, I feel like you could transition to, all right, run fast. And now, you already know leverages, right? So just apply those leverages and speed together. This is how you tackle, like when you get to high school.
Yeah. And you'll see a lot of great linemen are former wrestlers. Right? A lot of the bigger guys that have wrestled. But in the same breath too, I think the rule is geared for the specialty positions, right? If you watch line play, they literally are hitting their helmets together every single play. All you have to do is look at their helmets to know this, right? They're colliding helmets every single play, and there's no penalty there, right? And it's you got two guys this far away from each other. You blow a whistle, they're going to hit heads. Now, is it as violent? No, right? They're within close quarters, but you're still hitting your helmet every single play. Does that add up over time? Maybe, right? So there's a lot of things to think about there. And I got kneed in the side of the head one time in a football game, and that gave me a concussion, a bad one, a really bad. Yeah, so it was like an interception down the sideline. I was going to tackle this way, and the runner's knee came up, right? And I was out. That's the game. I didn't remember the second half of the game. I played still because there wasn't really concussion protocol back then. You good? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And I took halftime off, and I went back in the game for the second half. Didn't remember if we won. It was bad. It was a bad concussion. But there was no stuff back. You good? Smelling salts, right? Go back in the game. You're fine, right? So it probably not good for me, right? But how do you avoid that, right? It's a knee to the side of the head. The guy was just running, and I went down, right, to hit his waist, right? Tackle his waist. We've been told that too. And he was a tall guy, and his knee just came up, and I don't remember much after that. So, yeah, it is football. Yes, there's definitely some not safe things happening in football. But yeah, and there's nothing wrong with, you not feeling comfortable with that up until high school. It's definitely a matter of choice, and there's ways I think now to make it safer for sure. And I've seen leagues that go up to now, the flag leagues that go up to, there is no contact, right? It's just, and then high school does start. And I don't think there's nothing wrong with that either. I'm just saying I'd probably be okay with my kid playing like middle school, something like that. But yeah, the less hits on your brain, the better overall over time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
All right. So obviously football has been the main story. Baseball is happening. I have nothing to say about baseball. I forgot it was happening because of football.
Phillies are teasing me again. They're 1.5 back again. They go like this. They go back down, 5 games back, then they're back. Within a game and a half, and they go back down. They'll lose to the worst team in the league 3 out of 4 games. And then they'll beat the best team in the league 3 out of 4. It makes no sense. So yeah, they are teasing me still. Well, we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, and again, this gets back to our conversation on a previous episode where we discussed how, the baseball season is too long and doesn't end at the right time, right? If it was playoffs now, I would again, I'm not the biggest baseball fan, so I'm not going to pretend like I would have a huge interest, but I would at least know, I wonder who won that playoff baseball series or game.
Yeah.
I at least ask the question. Now I'm like, I completely forget baseball still exists effectively if I didn't do this show. I'm like, oh yeah, baseball's still going. And they still have 25 games, I think.
Yep.
Basically, roughly. Yeah, so it's like, oh my gosh, you still have another month of regular season. How is this possible? So,
and
we'll see.
When football comes on, I'm just like, I'm watching football. Unless it is like if the Phillies are in the playoffs, I'm watching that game. But any other playoffs, I'm not watching. I'm watching football. And I already know it. Like you said, Oregon, Ohio State is going to be an amazing game this week. I'm watching that on Saturday. I already know what I'm watching. And then I told you I always get off on football tangents of watching Southwest Missouri State, 2 teams I never heard of, but I just watched the game anyway. I'd rather watch that than some playoff baseball team that I don't root for. So the timing is definitely weird. I think they would be.
So
go ahead.
So this weekend we do have Ohio State's. I'm pulling up the schedule. That's why I'm looking over the other screen here. So we have Ohio State's and Oregon at what time are they playing? Noon on Saturday. So that's a biggie. I'm sure we will be. Well, I don't know if I'll be able to watch it because I'm supposed to go hang out with my father at a cabin. So we'll see. We'll see what he wants to do with that. Trying to see, are there any other big games this week? I'm looking to see if I see any other.
I mean, there were some big games this weekend for football. It was crazy. I mean, you got to talk about Georgia Clemson game. That was 10-3.
Yeah.
Defensive struggle. They said Clemson averaged 45 points a game last year, and they scored 3 this game. Georgia.
Yeah, that was a good game. Like, it was weird. It was super defensive, but it was actually not. It was fine to watch.
Yeah.
It's the exact opposite of the Tulane game. Tulane almost upset somebody? I think Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, yeah.
And they were both on at the same time, and we were flipping back and forth. Like, they were two opposite games. Like, Tulane, Oklahoma, there was zero defense.
Yeah.
Zero defense. And obviously the Clemson game was
all defense.
Clemson, Georgia was all defense.
Yeah.
So very interesting. Let's see. There's Iowa State, which is
that'll be a good game.
18 against number 7. Iowa State's actually ranked number 7.
Iowa State looked great in their win this week.
Is there anything else this weekend? Yeah, there's like nothing. There's like nothing else this weekend in terms of college football. But obviously, we also have the start of the NFL season.
Yeah, that'll be
off.
We have our fantasy draft this Sunday. We had that.
Oh, how'd that go?
Pretty good. I don't know how long the league's been going on, but it's probably 15 years at this point, at least. So that was.
So we got So let's do some quick picks. We'll do Anthony and Kenny's quick picks for the NFL season. Why not? It'll be fun. All right, Thursday night, Dallas, Tampa Bay. At Tampa Bay, so it's in Tampa. I'm going Tampa.
Yeah, Tampa wins. Dallas is missing their center.
Yeah, like half their team's going to. Yeah, yeah. I feel like half their team's going to be out with COVID. Philly, Atlanta. In Atlanta.
Falcons.
I guess I'm going to go Falcons. I don't know who's playing quarterback for Philly right now. Is it Hurts?
Jalen Hurts, correct.
Yeah, I don't know how good he's going to. I mean, I feel like he'll be good eventually. I don't know how good he'll be week 1. Pittsburgh at Buffalo. I'm going Buffalo.
Yeah, Buffalo wins that.
Minnesota at Cincinnati. Give me Minnesota.
I go Bengals there.
All right.
Joe Burrow makes his return.
Burrow could easily throw for 500 on anyone.
Yeah.
And keep them in the game. So if he stays healthy, it's tempting to pick Cincy just for that reason. The question is, I don't know if they fixed their offensive line problems that got him injured in the first place.
That blew his knee out in the first place, correct?
Yeah, exactly. San Fran at Detroit. I mean, it's Detroit, so I gotta go San Fran.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. New quarterback in Detroit, new offense, new players.
Arizona at Tennessee. Give me Tennessee and Derrick Henry.
That's a good game. I'm going to go Cardinals there. I love Kyler Murray. I'm just because I like him.
I am not sold on him.
I just love how he throws the ball.
He throws it really far and accurately. I don't see it yet. Seattle at Indianapolis. I feel like Indy's always sneaky good. I'm going to go Indy.
Yeah,
at home. If it was in Seattle. But
if Wentz is playing, I go Colts. If Wentz is not playing, I'm going Seattle.
All right.
He's on COVID protocol right now, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
And he had foot surgery and yada yada. New team, but it's his old offense coordinator. So they have a great running game, good line. But Seattle's always tough, so we'll see.
Los Angeles at the Washington football team.
The Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, I'm going to go LA there.
Yeah.
The Rams there. New York Jets at Carolina.
Oof. It's like tough pick there. I'll go at Carolina just because the Jets are never good.
Yeah, I'll go Carolina too. I don't even know. Both teams usually.
So the Jets traded Sam Darnold to the Carolina Panthers, and now he's the quarterback there. And the Jets drafted Zach Wilson, so he's the quarterback there.
All right, yeah. Give me Carolina. Revenge game. Jacksonville at Houston.
Oof, another bad one.
I'm going to go Jacksonville somehow wins.
Yeah.
This is a
Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence gets a win. I like that too.
Yeah, why not? All right, the one that I'm most interested in, obviously, Cleveland at Kansas City.
Ooh, that's probably the best game of the week.
Yeah.
Man,
I'm going Browns. I'm taking my home team.
You got to.
I got to.
I'm only going KC because of Patrick Mahomes. I've seen the guy do freaky things. He's a tough out.
I think that's going to be a banger, though.
Oh, it's going to be a great game.
That should be good.
Yeah.
I would definitely take Cleveland in Cleveland, but at Kansas City,
tough place to play.
I'm still taking Cleveland, but I'm not going to be like so shocked if Kansas City wins. Miami at New England. Give me New England because Miami can never beat New England in New England.
I'll take it, Miami. I'm going out on a limb. It's too warm right now.
Right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, I would like Miami to win.
If it was December, I'd say the Patriots, but rookie quarterback,
Who's quarterbacking for Miami?
Tua, right? It's Bama versus Bama. Yeah, because Mac Jones is for New England, so
I'm going to stick with New England only because of Belichick. It's Belichick. Green Bay at New Orleans. I'm not a biggest fan, but give me Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay.
Yeah, I'll go Green Bay there.
Denver Broncos at New York Giants.
I'm going Denver. That's my team, and I think they're going to surprise people this year, and I don't think the Giants are any good. So,
who's Denver's quarterback?
Teddy Bridgewater is starting this year, and with Drew Lock.
I like Teddy.
Yeah, he's a winner.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Teddy Bridgewater over Daniel Jones from my undergraduate alma mater, Duke University.
Oh yeah, he went to Duke. That's right.
Yeah, he did. Chicago at Los Angeles. Was this the Rams? Oh, this is the Rams. The other LA was the other LA Chargers.
Shoot,
too many Chargers. So let's go back. The Los Angeles Chargers at the Washington Football. I still take Los Angeles.
Yeah, I'm still taking the Chargers there, and I'm taking the Rams versus the new quarterback, whoever's playing quarterback in Chicago.
Yeah, I agree. I think Fields will be really good. I think he's going to need a couple of games.
Yeah.
And then the Monday night matchup, Baltimore at Las Vegas. Baltimore obviously has lost their former Ohio State running back.
Dobbins, out for the year.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins is really unfortunate. I really like Dobbins.
Yeah.
He's a beast. I still take Baltimore here.
Yeah, I'm going Baltimore there. Absolutely.
All right, those are our picks for the week. Maybe we'll make that a weekly thing. Pick our NFL picks for the week.
Yeah.
Kenny, you got anything else for today?
Nah, that's it. It was a good week of college football, and hopefully this will be a good week of NFL football coming up.
There you go. All right, like and subscribe below. All that fun stuff. If you're watching, share all that cool stuff. You can follow us on Instagram. Links below. Follow CHP on Instagram at Complete Human Performance, and head to Complete Human Performance.
Say that.
CompleteHumanPerformance.com for all your training and nutrition needs. If you want to pick up some hoodies like the one I'm wearing, or the slightly updated version of this one, go there and you can find links to our apparel section. All right, Kenny, thanks a lot.
Real quick, I shared. I went in and updated my LinkedIn last night. I haven't been on there in a while, but I feel like it was time to update it. I added us, Complete Performance on there, and I did put one of our videos up on there. So yeah, if you do have LinkedIn, I'm just Kenneth Barber on LinkedIn, and one of our videos is up. A lot of views on there already, so that was cool.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I will have to. I'm on LinkedIn, but I kind of similar to you. I made an account 3 years ago. Didn't touch it for about 2.5 years. And I think literally a month ago, I was I should probably update this.
Yeah.
And I was actually on there this morning. It's a site I rarely go to.
It's so funny. I've not been on there in a while either. And now I've been looking at it a million times because it is a cool site. It's a nice refreshing other thing other than Facebook or Instagram. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, folks. We should be back next week. I'll have a different background because I'll have to record from one of my teaching schools. But yeah, we will be back next week. Peace out, everyone.
See you.